Welcome to day 2 of my winter trip. Today I was joined by a lifelong friend who had never been to Death Valley before, and I had the privilege of showing him around. So we planned to do some more of the touristy things. At least we hoped to, but because of the government shutdown, there were still some areas that were closed. But all in all, we still had a good day, covered a lot of ground, and made some nice images. I hope you enjoy the ride. We started the morning at Zabriskie Point. It was cold and windy, and there were quite a few other photographers there. I was eager to see what the place looked like with the lower angled light of winter, as I'd always been there in the fall. We also got some nice clouds, I'd say nicer than I'd ever had there before, and those really helped the images later once the sun came up. But pre-sunrise, that soft light is so nice on those mud hills, and the compositions are just endless, and it was so much fun to play with those. I made 2 horizontals and 1 vertical, and I just love the soft light on those mud hills and the S-curve with a little wash as it goes through, and it's such a lovely place to be. I did try one sunrise image of the Manly Beacon, just as the sun was hitting the top of it. And again, those clouds were so nice, and I think that really helped to bring that image together. It's been done so many times, but it's always fun to give it a try. Then we took a drive through the 20 Mule Team Canyon, which is always interesting, and I got a fun abstract image there. I did it in color as well as black and white, but I think I like the black and white better. Kind of looks like a foot of a large animal, I don't know, a dinosaur? What do you see in that picture? Then we tried to go through Artist Drive, but it was closed due to the government shutdown. And then we also tried to do Dante's View, and it was a long drive in before we reached a closed gate that was telling us that spot was also closed due to the shutdown. So after that, we decided to head back to Badwater to scout for sunset. But on the way there, I saw this image and I just couldn't resist it. The conditions were so nice, and those receding hills and that ribbon of highway just going through. I don't usually make images that show man-made objects in them, but in this case I just couldn't resist this beautiful image with the ribbon of highway leading off into the distance over the hill. I just thought it was so neat. Well, I'd mentioned before that there was a government shutdown in effect while I was in Death Valley. And while the effects didn't seem to be too bad, like other people had noted in some other parks, there was definitely trash accumulating around. And in fact, the bathrooms area at Mesquite Dunes was closed and locked, and so there was a big accumulation of trash piled there. And I thought about trying to get involved there and help with some of that cleanup, but it looked a little sketchy and I wasn't sure what I might get into. Well, sure enough, the next day the Park Service actually barricaded the whole parking lot at Mesquite Dunes and had signage that said, do not enter, there's accumulation of human waste, and be careful. So I'm glad I didn't dive into that pile. But one thing I thought was really nice was the park concessionaire Xanterra had volunteered to help during the shutdown in several ways. One is they were paying the salaries of the Park Service staff and others that it took to keep the visitor center open. So that was really nice for all of us to still be able to have access to that visitor center and have it staffed properly. And so I thought that was really nice for Xanterra to really partner up with the park during that time and pitch in that time of need. Well, it was time for us to head back down to Badwater and try some of the polygons at sunset. We finally arrived at Badwater about an hour and a half before sunset, plenty of time to walk out past where most of the crowds go and find the nice, clean, unbroken edges of the polygons. It's a real challenge to work here because, in one way, the polygons all look the same, and in another way, they're all totally different. And finding that one subject that just works for you and the way you want it to line up with the hills in the background, it's not easy. And just when you think you found one, then you maybe walk away a little bit looking for another one, and then it's hard to find the first one again. So it's a real challenge, but it's a lot of fun, and I finally found a couple that I liked. One looking north up the valley, and it was a little easier to work with the sky here because it was a little darker, not being the bright sunlit sky, so I didn't need any sort of a split neutral density filter for this one. But then I took a series of images looking south, and the sky was brighter, and I definitely needed a split neutral density filter to keep the sky in check there. And I processed one more blue, and this is really the way the camera saw it, and I think it's the way film would render it also. And then I took another one and processed that one a little warmer, more like your eyes would see it. I'd be interested to know which one you like best, if either. I haven't decided yet, but I think it's a fun composition, and it certainly gives the feel for being in Badwater at sunset. Thanks for watching this episode of my winter trip to Death Valley and Zion National Park. I had a great time, and I sure hope you're enjoying seeing some of the locations I visited and the photographs that I made along the way. I have another episode to share with you next week, so I hope you'll tune in for that. And please subscribe and share and like, and I hope to see you next week as we explore some more of these two exciting Western National Parks. See you then.